All right, it's 8:05, so I am going to begin. I will tell you that this will be a very short lecture today. Due to my 6-year-old granddaughter, I have been exposed to the flu and strep throat, and I'm feeling parts of each. So I am going to go over what I said I was going to go over, at least somewhat, and that'll be class. I don't think this lecture is going to be any more than an hour today. I don't have much more in me. All right. So today I am going to go and discuss with you two different JavaScript applications. All right, we'll review the portfolio requirements, and then we'll look at the protocols. And what I'm going to do is just bring up those two presentations. Okay, and the remainder of the period, as it says, will be lab. Please remember that there are 75 points out there for the chapters 8 to 10, those 29 ES6 lessons that are due this Sunday. All right. Your written test, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that's 80 points. That is due this Sunday. All right. Your HTML, CSS, JavaScript final, which was to create basically a rock, paper, scissors game. All right. That is due a week from Monday on the 27th. Again, next week, I'm not going to be around. I will be checking my email infrequently. And if somebody gets a hold of me with a question, I'll do my best to answer between Monday and Wednesday. And Rankin is closed on Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. All right, so that's the start. So what I want to show you quickly is, first of all, I'm going to bring this up, and I'm not going to lie to you. These are not mine. All right, I'm going to explain to you what's happening in here, and I had to make some changes. But what I'm about to show you, these are not going to be my applications. We've got a very simple here index.html file. All right, so you've got weather app that we put in here, and I put in my link to my styles, and down here I put in my link to my JavaScript. But if you look in the body section, there really isn't much in here. All right. There's an H1 heading that says simple weather app, and there's a form. And the form doesn't have much stuff in it. All right. It's going to have an input, which is of type text, which says search for a city. All right. And then notice autofocus, which means that basically when the program starts, that should be the field that's in focus. We've got a button that says submit on it and a span. Don't worry about what any of that stuff is. But the idea behind this, let me run it, and then we'll go look at the JavaScript. All right, so save all. So I come in here and I search for a city. So let's put in St. Louis. All right, and I click submit, and it shows me the current weather right now in St. Louis. It's also letting me know that it's the United States. All right, so it's 60 degrees right now, and it says 60 degrees Celsius. I'm going to show you how we can change that. All right. Because if we want, in fact, I think that is showing Fahrenheit right now, but I don't know why it says C. We'll look at it in a minute. And it's got a picture of clouds here, and it's got just a little thing, overcast clouds. If I put in another city in here, so for instance, if I put in Miami, and you'll notice it's 74 broken clouds, US. If I do it again and put in, let's say, Berlin, all right, now you'll notice up here, it says DE, and I'm not sure exactly what that, is showing, but it's saying 42 in overcast clouds. Finally, one last time, if I run it again, and hopefully I'm spelling this right. Is that Tokyo? I think that's right. It's 56. All right. And it's showing that is in Japan. Now, what's kind of neat about this And this is what I want to show you in here. Again, this is not my work, but I did have to do this. All right, this is my API key. Now, if I will put this out there later, but if you go out to openweathermap.org right here, all right, if you decide you'd like to run this and you'd like to be able to make your own copy of it, let's just say, you'll notice that I am logged in right now. All right. And not only am I logged in, which means I have an account, but I have API keys. All right, so it's telling me to sign in for my account. That's fine. I'll submit that. I'm signed in. Then I've got in here a couple of API keys. This one is inactive, and this one is active. This is the one that I used in here. And as it says, well, it says React weather app, but this is for a JavaScript weather app. But what is actually happening here is if you go in, I'm going to log out. All right. And I'm not going to do this, but if you go in here and let's say that you don't have an account, so you go out to create an account, pretty obvious, I think, what you have to do in here, create your own username, enter an email, enter a password, and a repeat password. All right. Why they say this, I'm over 16 for a weather app, I wouldn't know, but they do. And you've got to agree to both of these. All right. And it looks like you've got to consent to receive some other stuff and then show you're not a robot. All right. And then once you have done that, you'll get an email from openweathermap.org. All right. And once you've got that email, that'll confirm your account. Then you will be able to sign in. All right. So again, I'm signed in. All right. And again, if I come up here, this is what I want to show you about this. I already showed you. So when you come in and you go to my API keys, you won't have any. You won't have an API key. But if you click generate, all right, it says, please fill out this field. All right. So let's put on JavaScript weather app. Well, I guess you only get a certain number of characters. JS weather app. And I'm going to click generate. And you'll notice it made a new key for me. All right. Now, why is this important? Should you care, etc.? Let me just tell you that the way these APIs are set up is you are going out to the internet. All right. And what they want to do here, I'm using a free account. But if I was going out here, let's say thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of times a day, that could potentially be putting a lot of taxing on their servers. So they would want me to go and actually go in and register for a paid account. Now, it's not a big thing right now for me. It's not at all. All right. Because like I said, I think that what it is like, if you have over 1,000 requests an hour or something like that, I'm not going to have that. All right. Notice if I come over to here and I change this, it says, do you want to deactivate this key? And if I say, okay, right, now it's inactive. All right. You can create as many of these keys as you want. This one I did a long time ago. I don't need it anymore. So it says, do you want to remove it? Yes. So now that's gone. This is the one that I used in here. All right. I think that everybody can understand that. So I'm going to go over here to API. All right. And there is a boatload of information in here, just so you know it. All right. And they explain everything, and they actually do a pretty good job of explaining here. See this? 1,000 API calls per day for free. All right. Once you get past that, what they want is $15 or 15 cents. No, not even 15 cents. Tens, hundred thousands, 15 10,000ths of a cent for every one that's over 1,000 per day. All right. Now, when you look in here, notice what they have, because there's a lot of different things that you can get. All right. You can get current weather data. You can get hourly weather data. You can get a forecast for several days, 16, 30, etc. So what I'm going to do, just so you see this, is I'm going to click on the API doc for current weather data right there. And what it shows me in here, what it shows me is how I can make an API call, all right? And literally, this is what I had to put into my JavaScript. So let me grab this, copy it to the clipboard, and I'm going to bring it up here into a new window so you can see it. There it is. Now, as it is right now, it's not going to do diddly. All right. In this particular example, they're expecting a latitude and a longitude. All right. I don't know what the latitude and longitude of things are. You can find them out by setting, putting them in there. All right. But I'm going to show you an easier way to do it in just a second. Right here, you'd have to replace where it says API underscore key with your actual API key. All right. So if I come back in here, and I thought that I was at the right one, and maybe I'm not, but what I want to show you is what you get back when you make a call here is you get back what's called JSON, all right, which is JavaScript object notation, all right? And it shows when you do this, all of the stuff that you get back, all right? And you'll get back things, and again, as it says, this is just an example, but there's all sorts of things that you can get in here. Now, I'm going to go back and back up, and I'm going to go down here, way down here. Somewhere in here, they had a thing in here with city. Built-in API request for city name. There we go. All right, so let me grab that one. All right. So I've got here Q equals city name. Okay, I'm going to change this to, I don't know, Chicago. All right, so Chicago. And the API key, I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab my API key. All right, and I've actually got it in here in a couple places. So let me just grab it from here. We go, copy. All right, and I'm going to change that API key to this. All right, now I'm going to do Control A, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to try to put that into here and hit enter. All right, believe it or not, it works. Now it doesn't, well, I guess it didn't. It doesn't like it says invalid key, so we'll fix that in a minute. But I'm getting raw JSON in here. All right, if I click parsed, right now it's not giving me much. All right, so let's see if we can figure out what was wrong with this. API key, that actually should be correct. So let's see if we can find an example of it. In fact, let's just do this. Let's look at the JavaScript, which does work. All right, so all of these could be fixed up. We could do an alias for document.querySelector. I didn't do any of it. All right, so this is my API key. That's the only thing I had to change in here. All right, so we come in here. Notice we have an event listener for the form. So when we try to submit the form, this is what's going to happen. Well, we do a prevent default right away, and we've talked about before what that is. All right, we're not sending it any place, in other words. All right, so we come in here and we've got this. We're going to have basically all we're doing in here is we're setting up some stuff for the output. But the Ajax, where it says this is the key thing right here. All right, it's running this. So this input val is what we're putting in for the city. And this API key, all right, is our key. And we can put this in metric. We can put it in Kelvin. We can put it in Fahrenheit. And in Fahrenheit, it's imperial. All right. And that's why I've got it in there like that. All right. So the key thing is right here. This is what I wanted you to get out of this. All right. Where it says const icon right here. We are telling it to go out to the openweathermap.org. And this is saying that we want you to grab the picture. We want you to grab the picture that's associated with the current weather conditions. All right. So we want you to, basically, that's what we want you to show us. All right. And then we want the name of the city. All right. We're putting in there the country, and you saw that US, etc. We're putting in the temperature. All right. And there is the reason I got the C. That should be an F. All right. And so that's all the information that we're putting in here. But the key takeaway is what we're doing is we're making what's called an API call. So we are going out to the internet and we are saying to the internet, hey, we're providing you with information, a city name. We want you to go in and tell us the current weather conditions for that city. And it looks kind of weird in here, and you have to ferret your way through it. But the point is, you get tons of information back. All right. Not just what I'm showing you here, but there's things like humidity, wind speed, etc. And there are a lot of examples of this out there on the internet. Now, the only thing that didn't appear to be working in here, and I've tried it 2 ways, was to reset the form. And what I mean is this. So let me do a save all here. Go back to here and run this. Put in a city. All right, let's put in Vancouver. I think I spelled that right. And it says it's 36 degrees Fahrenheit right now in Vancouver. All right. Now, if I put in another city here, so let's say I put in Detroit. It's supposed to clear this out and it's not happening. And I'm not sure why. All right. But there's a few things that we could do to make this better. All right. For instance, we could set it up so as soon as you put a city name in and you click submit, this would go away. All right. So you could be able to enter another one. Now we could do that by literally just removing it, or we could have a button here. I'd be actually a little bit more prone to put a button there that would say clear. And then when you click clear, it would clear this out and it would clear that out and it would put the focus there. So right now, this is, for lack of better words, this is kind of an app that's in need of some help. It's not that it's bad, not at all. It's actually fairly well written. So, again, when we take a look at the when we take a look at the JavaScript that's in there, all right, again, the idea is this is a fetch. Now, you may remember this, you may not remember this, but one of the things that I showed you in an earlier class was that thing, that number facts thing that we went over. And we wrote that twice. We wrote that once using an XML HTTP request, and then we wrote it again using fetch. So this could have been rewritten using an XML HTTP request. The way they've done it here is much simpler and it's much better. All right. So this also shows another thing here. All right. In this fetch, what we are doing in here is we're doing what's called a promise. So fetch it, then do this. All right. So give us the response back and give it the response back in JSON. It's going to then be referred to as data. Then we're going to grab some of the information from it. All right. Then we're going to grab some more information from it, etc. And if for some reason we have a mistake along the way, it's going to come in and say, please search for a valid city. Well, when would that happen? Pretty much when you think it would. In other words, if I come in here and I put in hello, I don't believe there's a city named hello, comes in and it says, please search for a valid city. All right, so I come back in here again and type in St. Louis. All right, that went away and we've got this. So that was the first one that I wanted to show you. All right. All right, let's take a look at another one. The next one is cool. There are problems with it, and I'll explain to you the problems. You probably know them as soon as you see them. All right. And this is a movie app. All right. And what this one does, let's just run it. Okay, so I'll come in here and I'll type in Avengers. And you can see it's showing me everything that's in the Internet Movie Database for Avengers. Plus, if I take my mouse and I put it over one of the movies, I get a little pop-up that gives me an overview of what the movie is about. Now, what's bad about this program? All right, and bad isn't the right word, but the way they've scaled these pictures, to me, they look a little off. In other words, it looks like they tried to put these pictures in here and make them squares. All right. Not that that's a bad thing, but if originally the pictures had a different width than height, they look a little skewed. And to me, these do look a little skewed. What I like about this is that, as soon as I type in, for example, Harry, notice it comes right up to Harry Potter. Then there's Harry Brown. And with a friend Harry, there might be I was going to say Dirty Harry in here, When Harry Met Sally, etc. So you see there's a bunch of stuff in here. And as soon as I come in and put in Potter, all those other ones go away. And we just get the stuff for Harry Potter. Now, notice also in here for a couple of these, it says image missing, which literally meant there was not an image for that. All right, so let's take a quick look at the code that's in this one. All right. So the index again in here is fairly simplistic, in my opinion. All right. And you may agree, you may not agree with that, but boy, get up there. Go. All right. But if we look at what's in here and we look at the interface, not even 25 lines. All right. And everything that's happening is happening in here. All right. Class equal row, ID equal movie box. That's where all of the output is coming. This, as you can see, this is the div that had the thing in there for where we had to enter the information. All right, the search here, as it says. Okay, now you'll notice that, again, the autofocus is set, but autocomplete is set to off. We may or may not have talked about this before. I don't know. But when you set autocomplete off, it removes hints, H-I-N-T-S, that you would typically get. And what I mean by that, when I say hints, is if you've ever filled out a form and in that form, you click on, let's say, a phone number and you get like a little, almost like a Google suggest that has any phone numbers you put in there before. Those have all been added from autocomplete being set to on. All right. Okay. So let's look at the script. And again, what are we doing in here? All right. What are we doing? All right. We take a look in here. Again, this is going out to something else. All right. Looks like it's going out to the moviedb.org. I thought it was going out to I thought that it was going out to the Internet Movie Database, IMDb, but I don't believe it is. Now, this is not my key. This is the key from the person who wrote the program. All right. A lot of times what you find is when you go out and run somebody else's program like this, that it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because they have inactivated the key. All right. Evidently, this one is still active, so you can still use it. All right. But notice again in here, we're doing a fetch. Okay. It doesn't look exactly the same as the other one because they created a bunch of variables in here to handle that stuff. But they're doing the same thing. They're going out to the internet. All right. And they are going out to the moviedb.org and they are searching for a movie. Whatever movie was provided in here. All right. And I mean, I don't know what more to say. Again, this is not mine. Now, I have written this one. All right. I have written this one in React. All right. And I don't even know if I can find it, but I'll look real quick and see if I can. Let's see. So there's a React weather one that we did in class. And I'm looking for the movie one and I can't see it. So that is not it. Well, I'm not sure exactly where it is. It's formatted in a nicer way, and that's all I wanted to show you. So no, I'm not going to be able to. So, all right. So let's go in next and let's do this. Again, what I will do is I will take what's in here. And again, the to do, this is the one we did the other day. All right. So you can come in here, all right. You can mark it as complete. You can remove it, etc. You saw that the other day. All right. We also did this simple calculator. All right. And I've got to find my better copy, but I've shown you that as well. All right. So I will go out and make sure that I've got those and then I will add the two that we did today. All right. So with that said, now let's talk about this. This is your end of the semester portfolio. All right. I did not have a chance to talk to Mr. Gudmested and Mr. Gagelman. It's possible that this point value is going to change and it's going to go up. All right. Now, in the past, these are my requirements for you doing the end of the semester e-portfolio. But one of the things that Rankin is doing is they want to make sure whenever we give homework or labs or hands-on tests, etc., that we're giving the same material in all classes. So my programs should be the same as Mr. Gudmested's, should be the same as Mr. Gagelman's, etc. The reason I'm telling you that is I'm not sure if what I have here is exactly what they have. So I have to go and send them an email and ask them. if indeed it is. If it is not, when you come back from the break, I will be able to tell you. All right. But let's pretend or suppose right now that this is basically what you'll be doing. All right. I think it's going to end up being worth 200 points, not 150. So the equivalent of 2 tests. All right. Now, just so you know, it's my policy that I drop a person's lowest test grade. Okay. Now, with some people, your lowest test grade, if you've done well on each test, it might not even pay to drop anything. All right. But anybody can have a bad day. So if you had a bad day, or let's say you took the first hands-on test, you didn't know what to expect and you failed it, then I will remove that from your grade consideration. But I only do that for one test. Also, I do not do that if you miss the test. So if you didn't take it for whatever reason, all right, no, that isn't fair. No, that goes into the book as a 0. And just so you're aware of this, there were people in this class that yesterday I filled out what are called early alert messages. All right. You will be being contacted by Emily Malaby, who is the Rankin Student Success Counselor, because right now you're failing the class. I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to say how many people. There's more than one. All right. But with this one, since this is a project, if you don't do it, you're going to lose the 150 or the 200 points. All right. I don't know any other way to say it than that. So you are to publish an electronic portfolio. All right. And you should be able to bring it up in any kind of browser. And really, this should actually be changed now because nobody uses Internet Explorer anymore. Should probably change that to Microsoft Edge. All right. But Firefox, Edge, Chrome are probably still the 3 biggest. All right. All right. You must publish your portfolio to either GitHub pages or to Netlify or to both. All right. I would recommend putting it out to Netlify. All right. And the reason for that is anybody can see it. You don't have to worry about permissions or anything else. All right. So that is 10 points. You have to make sure that your portfolio has the following sections. This is 40 points. You'll notice there's a home landing page and about you, resume, portfolio work, and contact form. That's 5 things. Divide 40 by 5, you get 8. All right. Now, for the resume, it says both you should have a PDF version and a Word version. And really, you should. All right. For your portfolio, it should be set up so that you've got a picture of a project that you have. And as an example, what you could do then is make that clickable and have that go to the corresponding GitHub page. Now, if you do that, all right, because you want a prospective employer to see that, remember when we have set up our GitHub stuff, we've always gone in and we've always made it private. All right. But let's say that it's a year from now and you don't care if somebody sees a couple of your projects. Well, you may or may not know this, but just as an example, because this is what I wanted to show you here. And that is if I go out to github.com, all right, and I find one of mine. So there is uh, payroll projects, okay? And this was 5 months ago. All right, fine. Now let's pretend for a second that this was private. It was just mine. All right. So that's kind of how yours are going to be. So what you can do is you can go to settings right here. All right. And then you have to arrow down to almost the bottom. It's somewhere in here. I'll find it like this. All right, danger zone. Change repository visibility. So notice if I click that, I can change it to private. Yours would be the other way. So if you wanted to put something out there and you wanted people to be able to see it, you would have to go to that GitHub repository and change that repository from private to public. All right. Hopefully, like I said, it makes sense. All right. I'm not going to sit and read this stuff to you. The stuff that's here should make sense. Don't put any junk in there. No lorem ipsum text, for example. The content should be meaningful. No broken links. If you're going to put an image in there, make sure the image is there and you are pathing to it correctly. If you're hyperlinking to something, make sure the hyperlink works. All right. And you'll notice there are what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in here. 50 points. Do the math. So that is 10 points for each thing. If you don't put in a picture of yourself, you lose 10 points. Now, some people have done this and they put their picture or pictures on every page. You don't have to do that. You can either have it on the home page or on the about page or both. Not only that, we've talked about this before. It's up to you. You can either do this as a one-page app where you keep scrolling down, or you can do it with multiple pages. Either way is fine. It is your portfolio. And I've said this before. Maybe I told you about this before. I don't remember if I did or not. But I had a gentleman, Grant, who's graduating in December. And he sent me an email and he said, "Hey, Mr. Scott, can you look at my resume? Just give me suggestions as far as what you think." Okay. I said, "Sure, no problem." So he sent his resume and sorry, it was 2 pages long. All right. But I noticed that there was a lot of duplicative material on those 2 pages. So I cut it down to one, changed a little bit of the wording, etc., and sent it back to him. But I told him when I did that, hey, this is your resume. If you disagree with any or all of the changes that I've suggested, then don't implement them in the same way. Now, you are being graded on, did you meet this criteria? But you might use colors, for example, that I don't like. All right. You may or may not have heard this, but really, supposedly, the color that's the hardest on the central nervous system is red. But I had a student years ago, and he's actually working. He's doing some kind of programming right now out in Colorado because I heard from him recently. All right. And his favorite color was red. So he had every page of his website was red. I told him, I didn't take off, but I said, I said, "Chris, I wouldn't do this." I know I like red, but he did take one of my suggestions, and that was don't use black text, at least make your text white. Because again, it is your portfolio, it is your resume, etc. All right. Finally, if this is your second class, all right, then I want you to put some examples from the C# class that you took last summer. All right. If this is your first class, okay, then of course you won't have that. So I'm going to have to take these points in here and kind of wordsmith them or smith them accordingly. Because if this is your first class, you're not going to have this. You won't have any of that. So I'll have to make this worth more. All right. And then finally, all right. And I wanted to go back and watch this yesterday, but I'm not going to lie to you. I fell asleep. So I didn't. And that is that I'm going to send this out today. All right. Earlier in the semester, I showed you how to do GitHub pages. earlier in the semester, I showed you how to put things out in Netlify. All right. I will go back and redo those again, not today, but I will redo those again when we come back from the Thanksgiving break. All right. The other thing I've mentioned to you, some people tell me that this is just too much work, whatever. All right. But you can also go out to mobyrise.com. And if you go out to mobyrise.com, you can download the thing. Hope you probably have a Windows machine for Windows, and it's all drag and drop. Now, I showed you a copy of mine with that. I'm not going to do that again, but I do want to mention to you, you can all do this too, I'm sure, that if I go out here and I type in MobyRise, all right? In fact, let's not do it here. Let's go to YouTube. And you'll notice world's fastest demo, 1 minute and 5 seconds. But there's all sorts of things. This was 2 days ago. I wouldn't look at one that's a minute long. You're probably not going to get anything out of it. All right. How to create a website with MobyRise 2023. That's a 13-minute investment of your time. So if you want to do this using MobyRise, you can. All right. And again, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to talk to Mr. Gudmested and Mr. Gegelman and see if this see if what we're doing in here for your electronic portfolio has to be rewritten. I'm going to send them out an email today and show them what I have, and I'm going to ask them to send me what they have, because again, we're supposed to be doing the same thing. All right. Okay. So I will make sure that you get these again, and I'm also going to list for you the different on the email today, the later email I'll send out, the presentation I did on GitHub Pages, the URL for that, and the URL I did on Netlify. All right, if I can find both of those. All right, and I think I even went over a MobyRise example. So again, sorry, I'm not going to say anymore. I wish I felt better, but this is all that I have for today. Remember, please, that next week I will not be around Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but if you do send me an email, got a question on something, all right. The other thing I'm hoping to do this weekend, just so you know, hoping, is to get all grading done. So you should know by the end of the weekend exactly where you stand. And if you've turned in everything, all right, then the only thing you're going to have to really worry about is going to be that portfolio. But I have to also ask Mr. Gudmested, because when he went over React and he did a React example, I don't know if he made students turn that in or not. I'm going to ask him that as well. All right. That's really all I have for today. So I hope you have a nice weekend. Probably won't talk to you before then. Have a nice Thanksgiving. And we will reconvene on Monday, the 27th. I'll talk to you then. Thanks.